Well, Okpe is back with stories trending around the world. Ojinix.
Good morning, Dr. Abati. It's Jinix.
Jinix.
How are
Jinix
you?
Ojinika.
Good, I missed you yesterday.
Yeah, well, good to have you back.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good morning, Victoria, with your crown. You look beautiful in your pearls.
Okay, darling, so do you.
Thank you. Good morning, Rufai.
Good to have you back. Missed you yesterday.
Thank you, but you guys did great, and Shaitan was excellent. Well, good morning to you viewers. Here are some of the stories that are trending across the globe. In the United States, President Joe Biden observed his first Memorial Day as Commander-in-Chief, delivering remarks at Arlington National Cemetery. He said democracy was the soul of America and that a country worth fighting for is worth dying for.
On this Memorial Day, we honor their legacy and their sacrifice, duty, honor, country. They lived for it. They died for it. And we as a nation are eternally grateful. And
a picture of Viola Fletcher, the oldest survivor of the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre, receiving flowers on the 100th anniversary of the massacre in Tulsa, Oklahoma, has made the rounds. In Canada, the remains of 215 children found at a former residential school has renewed calls for the Roman Catholic Church to apologize for its role in Canada's policy of the 19th and 20th centuries that saw Indigenous children removed from families to attend state-funded residential schools. In China, the government's announcement that it will allow couples have up to 3 children after a once-in-a-decade census showed that the country's population grew at its slowest pace in decades tops the trend. In France, President Emmanuel Macron has threatened that the country will withdraw troops from the West African nation Mali following the country's second military coup in just 9 months. Under sports, Uche Eke, the first gymnast to represent Nigeria in any Olympic game, was received by Nigeria's Minister of Youth and Sports, Sunday Dare, on Monday in recognition of his talent ahead of the Tokyo Olympic Games. And 4-time Grand Slam singles champion Naomi Osaka withdrawing from the French Open following the bitter fallout from her decision to boycott all media activity set Twitter abuzz. Finally, under entertainment, the legendary Apollo Theater has honored superstar Mary J. Blige for her cultural significance, international success, and longevity in the entertainment business. Well, let's begin what's trending in Nigeria. Omoyele Sowore, Revolution Now campaigner and human rights activist, was trending on social media on Monday after a video circulated online where he claimed to have been shot by the police during a protest in Abuja. In this video, Omoyele is seen dropping to the floor, and we can see flames emitting from what appears to be a canister of tear gas. However, there was no sound of a gunshot.
I've just been shot by a CSP of Nigerian Police Office, of Nigerian Police Force. Shot me on my thigh.
On his neck?
Yes, on my thigh.
Sowore has been shot on his neck. Please break the news. Sowore has been shot on his neck. Break the news. Yes.
Let's focus on that.
We're heading to the hospital now. Masha, what's the name of the officer?
Hello? Send me enough data. Send me enough data.
The protest is taking place at Unity Fountain, but the police have been there now to disperse people. Immediately they shot through, the people dispersed. Alright, but you have to break the news now. Sowore has just been shot on his leg. Yes, I'll send you the name of the officer who shot it.
We are the lowest. In fact, the lowest of the lowest. That's where we are right now in this country.
Well, in the meantime, the Federal Capital Territory Police Command denied any involvement in the alleged shooting of the activist. On Monday, the spokesperson for the FCT Police Command, Yusuf Mariam, said contrary to this speculation, police operatives professionally restored calm at the location of the protest following attempts by a group of protesters to incite public disturbance, while many Nigerians reacting to the statement have called for an immediate investigation into the incident. Let's take a tweet from Mr. Tested Nigeria, who wrote, All this continuing act of rascality and denial by the police will continue to escalate the lack of trust, faith, and hope for the institution. We all saw this video circulating on social media, and it did appear like he had, a bruise that was swelling in that video. But I don't know if it was a gunshot, because, if it was a gunshot, it would be a pierced wound and not like a scar. It looked like maybe if it was a gunshot wound, I'm not an expert, it would penetrate, correct? And so a lot of people are wondering whether or not he was shot. But now the police statement is, indicating that he wasn't shot, and there's no record to that incident that happened yesterday. I don't know what your thoughts are on this story.
Well, I think it's thoughtful of him to have released this video so that people can use the evidence before their eyes and make up their own mind. Right. If at all he was shot, he's very lucky that the bullet did not pierce him. It appears that if at all he was shot, it was a graze, because the injury that was caused is very minor. It didn't appear to be bleeding profusely. He was coherent. He was speaking when he was taken to the hospital, so that's good. But the other thing about it is, even though this video shows quite a superficial injury, there's still a lot of anti-police sentiment. Correct. And that is not just based on this incident. It is historic. That's why there's so much distrust towards the police, and that really has to be rectified, because what we have seen now in Nigeria, with the kind of insecurity that we're facing, and people still don't trust the police, that's really all we have standing between us and all these criminals. And people are still looking at the police as part of the criminals. So something really needs to be done between police and public relations. Right. That's what I take away from this. Yeah, it was horrific what happened to Omoyele yesterday. And, there were videos of, when he went to the hospital and all of that. Dr. Abati, your analysis on this?
Well, I think Sowore and his spokespersons were very specific that this was a case of a tear gas. But I don't know, whether tear gas canister can inflict the injury that was shown there. But whether it was tear gas or anything else, the right of every individual to protest is a constitutional right.
Correct.
And I think that the police trying to prevent the protest yesterday at the Unity Fountain, I think it's called, in Abuja, went beyond the bounds of their own rules of engagement, because Sowore and others did not break any law by trying to protest. However, the issue about revolution, about Sowore leading a new round of protests, which he calls hashtag Buhari must go. And I think that this is supposed to be the beginning of it. The main event is supposed to be on June 12th, which is now Democracy Day. Well, maybe what they've done in this regard with him is a warning shot. And I don't think that anybody should be harassed or intimidated just because they want to express an opinion. Because I can imagine the mentality of the police. There was even a picture making the rounds yesterday of the lady who supposedly fired the shot. So this may be okay. You are preparing for June 12th, Buhari must go protest. Okay, take this tear gas first, just as a warning shot for you to know that if you people come out on June 12th, you will face what we're preparing for you. I hope that's not the mindset of the police. But the police, they've insisted that this is fake news, that's their position. And some of the things we've been hearing is that, look, if it was a gunshot, those other guys who were there with Sowore, they probably would not stay there. The other question that has been raised is that, maybe it was Sowore that staged it. Yeah. I saw another video showing a guy in a white attire, and he was being fingered as maybe the person who threw the tear gas canister. But whatever it is, what we're witnessing in Nigeria today is a regime of fear. It's a constriction of the civic space. And we've been seeing a series of assassinations in the last few days. A judge in Imo State, Ahmed Gulak in Imo State, a businessman in Ibadan, Oyo State. Only this morning we're told that one of the officials of the National Examination Council, NECO, was also assassinated in his home. And his wife was given very sad, frightening report of how it transpired. So if you threw ordinary stone at anybody now in Nigeria, you know, you are likely to be accused of an attempt to assassinate a human being, and government may be blamed. You know, you will be told that, oh, maybe it's Buhari that said they should throw a stone at you with an intent to kill you. So government needs to be careful. The security agencies need to be careful and make sure that they operate within their own rules of engagement, and that the civic space is not constricted, and that fundamental human rights are respected.
Right, Rufai, in this video that I had just played, Sowore did say that he was shot by a police woman, and there was another person there saying that they know the name of the woman, which, you know, is yet to be released, I guess.
No, the name is out there.
Yeah. What is your take on that?
As first, I saw that video. That doesn't look like a bullet wound to me. At first, I should say. It doesn't look like a bullet wound for me, and that's why we should investigate this further. I'm not going to say I'm a medical doctor, I'm an expert in bullet wounds, but from what I have seen, that doesn't look like a bullet wound to me. Secondly, we have a country that, when it is time for us to speak truth to power, we have a way of pandering. And that pandering sort of looks like a top-notch level of hypocrisy to me. And let's call a spade a spade. People have a right to go out and protest in this country. If you say they don't have a right to go out and protest, it's as good as saying we don't have a democracy. Except we're going to say otherwise. In every protest, the police is supposed to provide protection. And we all remember that long case that the incumbent president did go to courts. There were protests too, somewhere in Kano. He was there with his vice president. The police unleashed mayhem. Tear gas fired. That led to the death of Chuba Akadigbo, former Senate president. And the court did say that every citizen have a right to protest. Went further to say you don't even need to get police permits to protest. Those are the things we enjoy when we say we are in a democracy. I don't see any reason why Sowore should be stopped from protesting. He went to a specific place called the Unity Fountain, except if I am wrong that the Unity Fountain is a place designated for people that want to go have protests. I don't see anything wrong. And I don't see why we should get to a point where even tear gas canister should be fired at somebody. Probably that's a tear gas canister that hit him in the thigh. But the funny part for me is the discordant tune that is now coming out. A lot of people all saying all sorts of things online. The fact that, oh, it might be staged and all of that. We hear all sorts of noise. The truth is, the part we should uphold is the fundamental right that we can go out and protest. We can't remove that from the matter. And people should not be shot because they go out to protest. People should not be killed because they go out to protest. But the sad reality is that we can't say the same in Nigeria, that people have not lost their lives because they go out to exercise this right. So let us do everything possible, if we claim we're a democracy, to ensure that people can go out and air their views without getting hit by tear gas canisters. I think for me that's the major issue.
Very well said.
And we should uphold that strongly.
Very well said, Rufai. More on protests. We'll take another story. Human rights lawyer Femi Falana and his son, musician Falana Falana, popularly known as Falz, stormed the streets of Lagos to protest against insecurity and what they call bad governance. The protest, tagged Enough is Enough, organized by the People's Alternative Political Movement, a coalition of labor and civil society organizations, was led by activist Jaye Kaskia. The protesters were seen carrying placards with the inscriptions, "Provide security in schools," end kidnapping and banditry now, and stop killings, secure Nigeria. It is the first time we're witnessing a protest involving the father and the son duo. I mean, I think this is such a powerful image, both of them. I mean, they are activists within their rights, but I mean, the call for the end of insecurity cannot be overemphasized. I think that they should continue to go on the streets. Just only on Sunday, an unspecified amount of pupils, young children, were kidnapped in Niger State. How sad is this, Tundu?
It's powerful, but I actually think it's tragic.
Yeah.
I saw that image of Femi Falana SAN and his son, and I was heartbroken.
Yes.
I mean, we have Femi Falana's generation. He's been at this activism since his student days. We just talked about Omoyele Sowore, another prominent activist in Nigeria since his student days. And this is the legacy we're bequeathed to our children. He has his son with him now.
Correct.
Are we going to have Falana Falana Jr. out with his dad in a few years' time, talking about the same issues? This, for me, is devastating. We're still here. In fact, we've actually regressed. Because what is happening now, in the 70s, back when Femi Falana SAN was protesting as a student, was unheard of. They were protesting as students over things like increase of school fees, not that armed bandits were coming in and just raiding the lot of them and just packing them off into a forest. I'm actually emotional. It's sad. It's horrific.
Well, Tundo, I always call you a Pastor Tundo.
You do?
I think you are raising the
done
level of the
prophecy.
game now. You
Yes.
may end up as a prophetess Tundo Abiola. Because I can assure you,
hoping that
if Nigeria continues like this, if our leaders do not address the key issues about the development process, about justice, about equity, you and I will be here. And one day you will look back and say, oh, I predicted this. This is Femi Falana SAN. This is Falana Falana. And also this is Falana Falana Jr. carrying placards. And that is what happens when a country is not allowed to move on, when leaders are in denial. The leadership in Nigeria is in denial. And hence you find, a father who has been in the struggle since his university days being joined by his son, both lawyers. And if we continue like this, Femi Falana SAN's grandson will also join the struggle. And that will be really sad indeed and tragic if we look back and say, this country has not moved forward. 3 generations of protesters. You will be surprised on the same issues. Because they were talking about kidnapping, they were talking about crazy billing, irregular power supply, the same subject that we discussed this morning. Let's just hope that in about 30 years' time, 20 years' time, many of these problems that protesters, human rights activists like Falana's father and son, how do they say it in French, le père, le fils, that many of these problems will have been solved.
Very well said. Rufai, before I come to you, I'll take our final story so we can discuss both. Following the kidnapping of unspecified school pupils from the Saliu Tanko Islamic School on Sunday, reports that the Niger State Governor, Sani Bello, just hours after the incident, traveled out of the country, caused outrage on social media. According to the governor's media aide, the trip by the governor was to seek solutions to the security challenges in the state. The aide also disclosed that the governor is expected to be back in the country within the shortest period. Well, let's take a Twitter reaction from a Rosewater, who wrote, his children are safe in a private school abroad, so he can't be concerned about the ones kidnapped in the state. Insane climbed, he will not be able to get back into the state. I mean, Rufai, your take on this story, I don't know if I would want to join the bandwagon of people criticizing the Niger State governor, but I think that it, goes back to, I believe, even Shaitan's story, which he read yesterday, the governor being shown in a party dancing after that kidnapping incident. But I feel like he's within his right to, seek for help if the security challenges in the country is overbearing at this point. What is your take?
So I'm iffy about that help. What help? Is it going to meet foreign mercenaries to come in and rescue
it wouldn't
the
be the
students?
first time that we're seeing a governor going out to see...
So a governor will go and bring in foreign mercenaries?
Yes, I mean, not foreign mercenaries, but you remember that, Governor Amechi had done that before, and he had gotten, gotten some technical help at one point. So I'm not fighting for
the state?
Yes. Correct.
Over the state as a subnational. I mean, that is very iffy to me. I mean, I don't get the slant of going out to say you want to go find solutions. What solution? I mean, when a case happens like that, you report to the authorities, you put pressure on the presidency, which he has done in the past, which has all made us call this man a hero by saying that Boko Haram is just 2 hours away from Abuja. So I don't get, is he going to buy arms or what is the case? Because I don't get it. And I will bust your bubble. I will support those criticizing him.
Okay.
Because when something happens, a leader is supposed to be on ground. That's what makes you a leader. You lead from the front. You should be number one person down on ground. You should be the person to visit that school, to start up a security charge, to be able to rescue those people. But you're nowhere to be found.
Apparently, he had designated that to his deputy.
You can't designate. The optics are wrong, Oji. Let's call a spade a spade.
Okay.
Fire can't be burning on your state and you are designating. Did we vote you in there to designate? You see, that's the problem people have with leadership in this country. We are thugs to them. They don't regard us. Can America be on fire and you see Joe Biden going hunky-dory here and there? You see, that's what we call leadership. The first thing you do, you have to be on ground. No matter where you are, you have to come back home. You have to be seen as doing your job, and you have to create solutions. This just goes further to show that leaders don't really care about their people in this country. And that's why there will be protests till their kingdom come. As long as we keep having bad leaders, maybe my children too will get to protest. I don't have any yet, but I'm sure my children too will have to come out and protest about something in this country.
Getting a wife first.
Because, Dr. Abati, I heard you anyway. God will answer you.
Let God answer him.
I heard you, Dr. Abati. I heard you. So the truth is, it just shows that he has no regard for the parents of those children that were kidnapped.
That is the outrage, Rufai.
That's just
the
it.
outrage. Yes, that is the outrage. Tundu, your take on the story.
You know, governors are people too. Just generally, I feel for the current batch of governors. You know that Chinese curse, may you live in interesting times? They are the ones who have had to deal with SARS. They've dealt with the historical pandemic that we haven't seen in the past 100 years. And they're dealing with this new form, this virulent form of insecurity. So I do feel for them. But this is entirely wrong. Like I said yesterday, I was tremendously impressed with the governor of Niger State. Some things we don't apply the whip to certain issues, such as insecurity. And he did not toe the party line. He was very open about it. But right now, I do believe the statement that you read, that he went to seek help. He could have used the telephone or emails. He didn't need to physically go, because now it looks like he's junketing somewhere while people are suffering.
Right. That's another point. Dr. Abati.
Well, I mean, okay, we can complain about the optics.
Yes.
Yesterday, when we discussed the same governor, he was shown at a party dancing. I hope that event is not wherever he is.
You know, I asked you that question.
Abroad,
yes.
You know, because if that is the case,
that's
then
horrible.
The connection will show that he went abroad to go and dance on a frolic of his own when there are important issues at home. But the statement that was issued on Monday, that's yesterday, by his chief press secretary, actually said that the governor is making every effort to also liaise with the security agencies in Nigeria to ensure the return of those 200 students who were abducted over the weekend. In the age of technology, yes, you can function from anywhere. But again, I keep making the point that you don't need to show insensitivity.
It's horrible.
You know, or advertise it or broadcast it. Our leaders need a lot more in terms of empathy, in terms of emotional intelligence. You can go anywhere on a particular assignment, but don't push it in people's face in a manner, you know, that will offend their sensitivity. There's something called decorum, you know, not just in leadership, but in every situation. But we've been seeing a series of indecorous leaders who behave as if they do not care about what people feel. And that, for me, is the big problem.
Yes, Rufai, I did not get you.
And in any case, even if he was at home, if he did not travel, many of these governors are actually helpless.
Right.
And that's why they are either weeping, or they are crying out, or they are calling on the federal government, as this same Sani Bello did before now, to come to the rescue of their states.
Right.
Because he raised the alarm at a point. So, you know, but you should watch it in terms of the optics.
Right. I was going to ask for Rufai's comment on Femi Falana and his son.
Oji, real quickly, it's just sad how Nigeria has become. You see, in the 70s, when Femi Falana were doing student activism, at least we could say boldly then that Nigeria was doing well. We had a growing economy. We had a lot of potential. A lot of young people come out of school. They didn't have 33% unemployment.
Right.
We didn't have 100 million people living in poverty. So when you even ask Femi Falana, which would you pick, Nigeria of 70s and now? I tell you, he'll pick Nigeria of 70s.
Well said,
and as the year go by, a country is supposed to be better. That just shows how shambolic things have become. So there'll be more protests along the line.
All right, then. Well, that's all I have for you guys on What's Trending today. I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Genex. Thank you very much indeed.